Are you struggling to build your natural faith as you walk through the steps of recovery?
Well, in this episode, we're going to talk about how your faith blooms, grows, and even evolves as you walk out the steps of recovery. Hey, it's July 4th, and it's time for another double shot of My Sober Truth. A natural faith. This is an interesting concept.
Absolutely.
We were talking about that going in, and you had that look as we were reading through this going, what the heck is a natural faith? And then as we dug in, it's just that it's, sometimes in things of faith, it's all supernatural and all, ooh, but a natural faith, it's just that thing that permeates every aspect of your life.
Absolutely. I mean, you can read a sentence here from today's reading, and it's I didn't understand what it meant when I started at the top, and then I read this sentence and it became clear to me. Today, faith is as natural to me, a former agnostic, as breathing, eating, and sleeping. Now that makes sense to me.
Right.
It's not that necessarily that the faith, a natural faith, when you kind of say it like that, it's more of he has found a naturalness to his faith.
Exactly.
That makes sense to me. His faith is coming natural to him. And I would say these days my faith comes natural to me. So,
well, when I read this, I immediately thought about your story because we've talked about things of faith before on the show.
Right.
And, and for those who have missed it, I know you're going to dive back into it, but tell us about your journey. How did your faith, grow, change, and become more natural when you started recovery?
Well, when I started, I didn't have any faith. And it goes back to, you've heard me talk about it before. I didn't have any faith in myself.
Right.
I had no trust whatsoever in myself. I didn't deserve any trust. I wasn't a trustworthy person. So it's really hard to trust other folks if you don't trust yourself. And that was a disconnect that I had. I didn't realize that all of my trust issues, a lot of them stemmed from me.
Right.
And it was going to be easier to trust others and to trust faith and to have faith once I started becoming a person that I could have trust in. So all that being said, I came into this program as I don't want to say an agnostic or an atheist. I definitely told everyone I didn't believe.
Right.
I don't know how true that is. It's awful tough for me it's always been awful tough for me to walk out my front door and see the wind blowing the leaves and the birds singing in the trees and believe that this is all some great accident.
Right.
So some sort of intelligent life has always been there for me. I just didn't know what it was. And I knew that I had a real problem with religion, the man-made form of spirituality. So all that being said, I could come back to once I started making some good decisions, little bitty ones, little small ones. At the place I went for recovery, making your bed, doing your dishes, cleaning up after yourself, making sure you had a nice room, making sure you cleaned up after yourself in public areas, doing all those things that I had kind of failed to do for a long time. Those were the start of the little basic daily building blocks that got me going in the right direction. I consider what has happened to me a miracle because I know where I was and I know how bad I was and I know where I'm at now. And me saying it's anything less than a miracle is me selling my higher power short.
Right.
Because what's happened in my life is unbelievable. Anyone who knew me back then would know that it's pretty well unbelievable. And the truth is, what everyone knew of me wasn't even half the story. What was going on in my head was way worse than any of that. Just like I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers can understand. I only let other people see the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
They never really get the whole story. Very few people are even close to getting the whole story of who I am. But I can say this, I am much more apt to give someone the full story of who I am today.
Right.
Than I ever was in the past.
That makes sense.
But I've seen these miracles happen in not just myself, but in lots of other people. I know what happens when people start to find some faith, when they find some faith in themselves, and then they start to find some faith in this program. And that's kind of how it happened for me. I started having some faith in myself, started seeing a little faith in maybe I started seeing the faith in the program first, and then
Right.
started trusting myself a little bit more. But ever so slowly, this higher power thing kept creeping in. And you and I have had so many of these situations in our path together just in the last couple of years since we've known each other, where we turn around and go, what just happened here?
Exactly.
You know, was that some God thing that just happened? And you call it a coincidence, call it whatever you want to call it, but man, those things pile up on each other, and they sure do give you some faith after a while.
They certainly do. You know, we use the statement a lot about walking in the light as we continue to do the right thing, the next right thing.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how the doors of opportunity, the doors of favor kind of come open to you.
Absolutely.
And all of that's a big faith building thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, I'm going to pose the same question to our viewers for the day. And so guys, we want to hear from you. How has your faith grown, changed, and become more natural since starting your recovery journey? We want to hear this story. Put it down in the comments section below. We can't wait to read what you have to say today. And on that note, for My Sober Truth, I'm Mark.
Hey, and I'm Sean. And here's hoping that today you stay drunk with success. Love y'all. Hi, folks. Thanks for watching. If you're ready for another round of My Sober Truth, then belly on up to mysobertruth.com and click on the double shot button today. There you'll find the daily inspiration, encouragement, and support that'll help you stay clean, on track, and growing in every area of your life. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and if you got a minute, stick around, watch another video. Love y'all.